What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-hosts this week, Micah.
Hey.
Carrie.
What's up?
Terrence.
What's going on?
So, there wasn't a lot of news, believe it or not, in the past 2 weeks, and the news that there was sucked. Like,
Bad.
I don't want to talk about Monolith Studios closing down. And if Carrie really wants, like, she can talk about Pokemon next week, because they did the Pokemon Direct
There
thing.
wasn't even that much.
Yeah,
it was
it's
just mostly a trailer for Pokemon ZA,
Yeah.
which looks good, but
in
nothing
Pokemon,
like new.
In Pokemon-related terms, yes, it looks good.
Yeah, well, whatever, man. I think it looks good regardless.
Look, they got to make that thing run on a Switch 1, so that's what's gonna happen. So we're just talking about games on this episode, and then we're gonna do the post office, of course, as we do. So I've been playing a couple things. We're gonna save Monster Hunter for the middle segment of the show, because that's probably where we'll spend the most time. An unwelcome distraction for me, that I've been playing a lot over the past several days, has been 2 Point Museum, which kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I've already put like a dozen hours into it. Part of that because I was just on a trip, which is why we didn't record last week. And Monster Hunter apparently does not run well on the Steam Deck, so I was not playing Monster Hunter whilst on the road. So I was playing a lot of 2 Point Museum, which, for those not familiar, is a management sim. It's made by a lot of the folks who made the old like theme games from Bullfrog way back in the day, like Theme Hospital and things like that. 2 Point has done a couple other games prior. They did 2 Point Hospital and they did 2 Point Campus. But the museum theme spoke a little bit more to me because there's kind of that whole through line of, designing the museum to attract guests and to get the money, and it's a more coherent thought process than like making a college be as profitable as possible, which is something that I don't necessarily vibe with personally. So 2 Point Museum has you essentially stepping into the shoes of a museum curator. You're given a blank space to start, and you can populate it with different exhibits, which you have to send your employees on expeditions to go get, that you can then show off in the museum. You can add like decorations and info boards, and you're trying to make it so that the guests that come to your museum find themselves like enthralled by the exhibits and knowledgeable about the exhibits, which will get you money, which you then need to go on more expeditions. And that's kind of the vicious cycle. You're building up the museum to make more money to build up a better museum as you go. The thing that 2 Point really does well is that a lot of games like this, like you get stuck into a new situation, and then you kind of like play that sequence out to completion over 10 hours or so, right? Where you're like building the same museum for an extended period of time. Very smartly, the 2 Point games kind of take you from small objective to small objective. So like the first thing you do is you build up this natural history museum, and you build it up to get it so that it's like a 2-star museum, which is like based, as the museum gets better, you get like star ratings. And then they're like, okay, cool, you did that. Go ahead and put this to the side for now. Now we want you to go build this ghost museum built out of a haunted mansion. And now you can build that up. And they kind of take you from place to place. And interdispersed, they also have these like challenge modes. So like one of the challenge modes they'll give you is like, hey, like we're going to put you in charge of this, already built museum for half a year, and which goes by very quickly in game time. But we have like a problem with thieves coming in and breaking into the museum to steal the exhibits. So like you need to manage the security and limit the amount of exhibits that are being stolen from here. And so you have to use the different like security features that are in the games. And the different thieves have like there's a couple different cells that attack the museums. Like one of them enters through the toilets, right? So you have to be careful and monitor like the bathrooms and make sure that those are being, watched pretty heavily. And then some just kind of like burrow up from the ground so they can just, pop up and grab something and and then escape with it again. I mean, and also if you couldn't tell, the game is very like tongue in cheek. It's it's got a humorous bent to it. A lot of irreverence. Like one of the first things you can find in the prehistory museum is like a fossil of like a floppy disk that you put on display, and so people look at it as like, oh, look at this relic from times gone by. And so it's just got a really satisfying loop, and because they keep shifting you onto different projects, it keeps your interest a lot more. Because I remember like Steam World Build came out a couple years ago, which is a city builder, and once I played that game through twice, like once I did 2 full builds, I felt like that I had seen the game, because every sequence of the game was just going to be, okay, you start with nothing, you build up your city, you go through the same resource chains, and it kind of plays out the same way every time. Whereas with this one, because you have the different themes of museums that you can build, and because you're, constantly going back and forth between the different museums, because then later on, like, you revisit the museums you've already built and you make them bigger and kind of add on from there. And then even once you're done all that, once you're through the campaign, which I'm not even close to, they have the sandbox mode where you can kind of build something from scratch and build it up from there. And all the while, you have employees to manage, and you have to hire people that have specific skills, and like janitors, so that they can clean the building, and assistants to man like the gift shop and the ticket booths and all that sort of thing. And you have to keep them happy as well, because that's part of the balancing act too. So I've just found it incredibly satisfying. And Carrie, they're just so you know, since it's published by Sega, they have an edition which I got, where you can like decorate your museum and all sorts of Sonic paraphernalia, all over the place as well too. So they have that if that's something that might get you in the door as well. So yeah, I did not need. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, for me, I've very much sort of been on the verge of getting into one of the 2 Point games, as someone who really enjoyed games like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon as a kid. I feel like this is kind of an evolutionary step for those style of
it is right in
sims.
line. It is right in line with that stuff. And there's a ton of mechanics in the game, but because of how it's gradually introduced to you, it never feels overwhelming. Like, and they also do this really smart thing where, like, so you have like objectives that are rotating that you have to fulfill to kind of progress through the campaign. And the objectives don't just like explicitly tell you like how to do this thing. Like, they teach it to you in the systems, but some of them are a little obtuse. But then if you go hover over them, like, it gives you a little tooltip that's like, hey, like to do this, like, you have to do these specific things. So like if you get stuck, it's very easy to kind of find your way through it. But it's still, it still doesn't just hand it to you. Like, you have to still kind of work with the systems and do those things. And so again, I did not need another game that was going to suck dozens of hours in my life up, especially like right now as I'm playing Monster Hunter and still playing Civilization. But yet here comes 2 Point Museum, which is going to do exactly that, much to my chagrin. It's been a fantastic Steam Deck game. It's a really well done interface for using a controller to play with the game. Then of course, if you are playing a keyboard and mouse, then that works pretty well too. But yeah, I would say if you've ever had like a curiosity about any of these games, it really seems like Museum is kind of the most fleshed out that the system has been, in kind of reading reviews of Hospital and Campus, because I've dabbled in checking those out as well, but they just don't grip me in the same way that museums do, because museums are kind of they're kind of theme parks in and of themselves in a sort of way, just without like rides and sort of stuff. So that just it just makes sense to me to kind of have that set up. So I heartily recommend 2 Point Museum. It is very, very good, and it's going to be the third game in my little 3-game rotation that I have working right now. So awesome stuff. Terrence, you wanted to come on this week, because you had a story you wanted to tell the good folks.
I was listening to that 2 Point Museum. That shit sounds incredibly boring. Yeah, so last time I was on here, I told you I got a mini PC, and I was playing some games on there. And one of the games that I played was the Ninja Gaiden 2 remake, right? Black remake on, and it ran like shit. It ran horribly. And I'm like, I want to play this game. So I got a month subscription for Game Pass Ultimate and ran it through the cloud.
Right.
I got it for free because I had 19,000 Microsoft points just kind of sitting there from years of just doing just random shit. And I played it on the cloud, and it ran fine through the cloud, but it still looks like shit because the bitrate is horrendous. Like when you're playing on the cloud on the 60-inch screen, it looks terrible. I'm like, okay, so what can I do then? So I bought myself a Series S for $200.
There you go. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Like I don't think anyone's calling your judgment into question. Look, if they're going to sell that thing for $300, like they're basically giving it away. Come on.
Look, man, and here's the thing. Here's what I did not know. I bought it and I still have my same account from fucking when I first got a 360 20 years ago. Damn.
Yeah, you old.
And when I logged in, I went to games because I had it saved and I was going to download it to play it. I didn't realize that Microsoft literally saves every single game that you've downloaded. I have 15 years worth of games saved on my series, just ready to download. One of which was the Ninja Gaiden 2 original game. So I downloaded Black again and I played through it and I'm like, I'm on chapter 5 and I realized this is not the original Ninja Gaiden 2.
No, it's the
Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2,
right? Yeah,
Black. That game is not very good. I mean, it's like Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 is fine, right? But it's not the original. They what they did, because the original was on the 360 and when that came out, the 360 couldn't really handle the amount of enemies that they would put on the screen at you. At the end of the game, and I don't know if any of you have ever finished Ninja Gaiden 2 or gotten to the end of it. Anybody? Nobody?
No.
Okay. In the last level, there's a section where you have to run up a staircase, and they throw about 200 enemies at you through the entirety of the staircase, and the game runs at like 13 frames per second. It gets so bad because it just cannot handle it. But the thing about it is it looks kind of cool because it's in slow motion. So you can kind of, predict people's moves because it's running so terribly, like you can get through it easily. And I wanted to play this game again at 60 frames per second in 4K. And they did it. They actually did it for Xbox One X. They did an update for it. It runs awesome. I love the original the Ninja Gaiden 2 on the Series S. It's awesome. Also, I started playing. I bought Cyberpunk 2077. That was $47 for
Whole thing, right?
the whole thing for both for the original, and that game is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's told you, Cyberpunk is pretty good, and it's been out for 5 years. I don't know if you've realized that game is 5 years.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I did repurchase it when Phantom Liberty came out on PC, and I played through the intro again, and then stopped again because I guess I just wasn't like in the mood to actually sit down for the 40 hours to go through the main story and Phantom Liberty. Even though I've heard Phantom Liberty is like fucking phenomenal.
I'm a little ways into the regular story, and on the S they optimize it so it runs at 1080 60. It looks pretty good, like for what it is. It runs fine. I remember when it first came out, it looked like dog shit on everything except for the PC, and it ran terribly. Didn't you finish it when on like the PS5 or the PS4? Or
I got a platinum in that game. that game is good, man. It is, now that it works. Now that it's now that it is what it was promised to be.
Supposed to be, right? It's
I had a real good time with that game. The only thing I don't like about that game is the male voice actor.
I never picked men.
This is the second time I played it. The second time I played it, I had to play a woman because the dude is like, it's me, and I'm like, what the fuck, like what? And I started the corpo prologue, and he's what, you don't work for a corporation sounding like that.
Hey, yo, Jackie. My boss.
Yeah, like, come on, yo. Hey, yo, Jackie. We got to get out of here, Jackie. Like, come on. All right. All right, get out of here.
So that's very good. I just downloaded a whole bunch of shit just to play. The Game Pass, like I said, I got it for free, and you can pretty much get Game Pass for free as long as you do like the little Microsoft whatever's. Since I got the Game Pass, I've already gotten 3,000 points in just doing random shit with the Microsoft points. Diablo 4, I started playing that. I'm actually almost finished with the story for that. My first character is level 57. A druid. I called it a wolf pack druid because I'm running around as a werewolf with like 7 wolves around me, just beating niggas up. It's really fun. Avowed is fine. You know,
Yeah.
it's nothing special.
My boyfriend's been playing quite a lot of that up
Mhm.
until the point where we both started playing Monster Hunter because it's on Game Pass, and
Yeah, fucking free.
it reminds me of Oblivion for better and for worse. Watching him play that game,
It's like it's made by the same people that did what's the game that came out?
Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds, right?
Yeah, it does
I like Outer
feel.
Worlds.
I liked Outer Worlds a lot too, but it does feel to me like this is to the Elder Scrolls as what Outer Worlds was to Fallout, which is it's in the same zip code, but to me, I would rather just probably play the Bethesda titles myself.
The combat is fun. Like I'll give
The
it that.
combat is pretty deep.
The combat is pretty solid. Like it has weight to it. It's better than the Bethesda games. I'm telling you.
That's true. No, you actually have to do something beyond just like mash the button that makes your sword swing.
You feel the actual impact of the strikes that you do, and like you have magic wands and shit like that. That's fine and whatever. I played a little bit of Starfield. That game is like 135 gigs. I only have 300. I only have 300 gigs to work with, my nigga. It's crazy. These games are so large. I played about an hour and I deleted it. But I did have a terabyte.
Sounds about right.
I had a terabyte, but I do have a terabyte SSD that I'm kind of like downloading shit and swapping. Since I don't have a lot of space.
Oh, you can't run. It can't run it off of there.
No.
Oh,
any game that says XS optimized, it doesn't run off of an external hard drive, which kind of sucks because it's an SSD.
Yeah, it would be incredibly annoying.
Should be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It transfers at 3 gigabytes per second.
Well, they want you to buy the $200 like officially licensed storage add-on.
Like, I saw how much it's going. It's like $150 for an extra time. I'm like, no, you're crazy. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm like, Game Pass is a bargain for me. Like, there's a whole bunch of games. Like, if I see something, I'm like, all right, I'll download it, give it a try. If I don't like it, I'll just stop playing it. I played Mecha Break. Mm-hmm. They have a character creator. Look. When we finish this episode, Google YouTube Mecha Break character creator. It's hilarious.
Oh, I've seen some.
Have you seen
Mecha Break
like
stuff?
Micah,
Yeah, it's
check it out. Micah, check it out. It's funny as hell. Because again, I always create female.
Because Mecha Break is just basically like a third person shooter, like Gundam, like deathmatch game, isn't it? Basically,
it's fun. It's very fun. But you don't see your character that much. So the created character, it's made by either Korean or Japanese people. They don't have any kind of like, they don't really give a fuck about, chicks with big titties.
Yeah, they literally, I can tell. Goodness gracious.
There is a there's a thigh slider. Thigh slider and ass, they have like 3 different sliders just for the ass alone. They have a calf slider.
Yeah, it's checks out.
Yo, come on, yo. I mean, I'm black, so what I'm saying, I just found it hilarious. It was one of the. I'm like, this is insane. You don't see your cat. Oh, and also when you get into the mech as a woman, there's a tight ass shot right before she jumps into the mech. I'm like, do they do that for the guys?
They should.
I'm saying. I was wondering, do they do that for the men? Because it's really fucking funny. But the game itself is actually pretty goddamn fun. Like, it's super fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun with that. But just so far, I've just been playing a lot. Like, most of my time is going to Diablo IV and Cyberpunk 2077.
It's because Diablo
$250. Yeah, Diablo 4 is really fun. Like, I
Good.
really like that game. I didn't realize how much I would. You see
All
what
right,
I
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm looking at the butt sliders. You know, like it's literally like overall size, height, right?
Yep.
So you,
Yeah. I didn't know
width.
any of this going in. It wasn't like I specifically sought any of that out. I was just like, create a character. Let me see.
Wow,
And it was going down. I'm like, okay,
wow, that
sure.
is hilarious. That is hilarious, yo. Like,
It's very funny. But again, the game itself is actually pretty solid. But Diablo 4, like the amount of customization you can do, just because the first Diablo I ever played was 3, and I love 3. I put like 400 hours into 3. I put a lot of time into 3. Yeah, this game's great.
Dude, the
I'm gonna start it.
seasonal content is so good. Like the season that's out now is the best one that they've done, and like they just kind of previewed season 8 because they're doing the PTR for that soon, and it looks even better. Like like the big thing in season 8 is they're gonna let you be able to unlock like boss powers, like the powers that the bosses use that you can use in combat as well. So it looks.
I came in on like a week where they have those loot goblins. And just running around. So I have like 30 million gold. Like I just came in at the perfect time. I have all the gold I will ever need. Probably not. If I'm going like to torment, going through the torment levels, I'm pretty sure it's going to cost a lot more gold to put aspects on your gear and level it up and everything like that.
It depends.
Really?
It depends. Yeah,
You'll be
gold.
fine.
Yeah, gold is a bigger barrier earlier in the game than it is later in the game.
Yeah.
So
And they just kind of shower you with with things that you need to use this stuff. With
Yeah.
items that you have to get. It's fun. Like it's just fun, and it's dark. They went back to 2, I guess. To like the
more of the style of like
Yeah.
the visual and kind of the storytelling
like
style too.
the
Yeah.
story. I'm like, this is kind of dark.
It's a
Like,
good story.
yeah,
did a
it
good
is.
job.
I'm actually. I don't skip the story like I did
Now,
for 3.
now the story for the like when you do Vessel of Hatred might be a little bit of a letdown, but the actual just core Diablo 4 story is pretty good. So
I got to pay for that, right?
I don't know. It might be on Game Pass as well.
No, Vessel of Hatred is not.
Oh, well then yeah, you have to pay.
It's
for
just
that,
the
so.
base game. Okay.
Oh well, then don't worry about that then. So unless you really want to use the Spiritborn class, which is cool, but you know you don't. Need
I heard
to
the
pay.
Spiritborn class is kind of broken.
It is this season, yes. Like it's ridiculously good at everything. Basically, is the problem. Like it has like 3 S tier builds that are available for it. so it just like I said, it's not that not that the other classes aren't good. It's that the Spiritborn is just so much better than all the other classes right now. So, but that's cool. I mean, you roll out a new class, you want people to use it. So I get why they tuned it up. So. That's cool.
And one last game I played, Kunitsu Gami, about an hour of that. That game is pretty. Like I remember you talking about it like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's fun.
Yeah, like I said, if only I had the fucking time. Like that's the other problem. Also distracting me big time. And so you guys probably remember a couple years ago, I was on a big Risk of Rain 2 kick. So was Terrence. Terrence got me. Yeah.
A lot of time putting in that game.
Yeah. So and it's very good.
100 hours in that again.
But I had never played the original Risk of Rain, which weirdly enough is a 2D side scroller. But yet, and so they re-released it last year. It's called Risk of Rain Returns, which is just a remastered version of that original game. I would have been blown away by Risk of Rain 2 because in playing Risk of Rain 2 first and then going back to this, it really is just Risk of Rain 2, but just moving in 2 dimensions instead of having the 3D space. Like the movement feels the same. It does. It just fucking does. Like the characters, like they have the same classes of characters, and they play like they do in the 2D game or in Risk of Rain 2, just on a 2D plane because like they give you lots of movement. It's still got the items that give you like the different buffs and stuff like that. It's more challenging because it's only on a 2D space. Like when you're fighting the big boss, like the Guardians, it's a lot more difficult to like stay out of their way because you don't have that third dimension of movement that you can roll with. But it's incredible how they made this game. It was like a cult classic, and then they managed to make the game in 3D, but it still feels the same way. That just kind of it doesn't make sense to me that they were able to do. That's kind of, I mean, this is way too high praise. I'm not putting it on this level, but it's kind of, translating Mario 2D to Mario 3D, where it still very much felt like Mario, but like just in a 3D plane. And Risk of Rain Returns is like, it's interesting having played 2 first, because getting that sense of feeling from 2, because like I said, it has the same like fluid movement as 2 does, and it's really cool. Really hard, like it's balls hard. It's way harder than Risk of Rain 2 is, even on the lowest difficulty. I'm still having a hell of a time getting past like the second stage, basically, in the mix. But it's a lot of fun. So that's another one that, if you like challenging like platformers, that might be one to, or not platformers because it's not that same skill set. But if you like challenging action games, that might be one to check out. If you're in a Dead Cells type, that might be one to look at, because it's pretty inexpensive too. I think it's like $15. So
is it still like the same time based? You start out.
Yep, where it starts out, and the longer the longer the run goes, the more difficult the enemies get as you go along. So yeah, it is literally Risk of Rain 2, just 2D. like that's it. Like from tip to tail. Like it's crazy how similar it is. So cool. So that will be the first segment of our show. We're going to come back after the break, and we're going to talk for a while about Monster Hunter Wilds. All right, so of course the big release of the past couple of weeks, Monster Hunter Wilds, something that me and Carrie were very excited about, have been anticipating for quite some time, and that our excitement was so prevalent and contagious that even Micah has now succumbed to the Monster Hunter itch. So I want to hear from Carrie first and her thoughts so far, but then I want to hear from Micah to hear what he thinks about his first excursion into this insane, silly game.
So, it's real good. Just for reference, as far as where I am at currently, I got a bit of a late start because of the fact that I was out of town for a few days right after the game came out. So I'm currently Hunter rank 20, which is my current cap. I have rolled credits once. I believe I have to roll credits a second time in order to fully complete the entire main story. So I have completed the low rank sort of half of the storyline. This game's a lot of fun. My one gripe is that it seems very convoluted to get like co-op going with your homies. Seems like you have to jump through several hoops in order to make that happen, but once that is going, it's very smooth. Yeah, look, it's so good. It takes everything that I really loved about World and upgrades it in a big way. It takes certain things from Rise, with the Palamute essentially being replaced by the Sacred as far as a sort of faster traversal option, except now you do not have to choose between having, like that or your Palico with you. You just have your Sacred with you all the time, and that's your sort of roving supply box as well. And you can change out your weapon as well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love all of the new monsters so far. They all present very interesting challenges. I think my favorite kind of new class of monsters, I guess you would call it so far, are the cephalopods, because those are brand new to the franchise at large, and I think it's such a cool idea. It's executed really well. Those fights are very fun. I think the seamlessness of cutscenes becoming fights and just moving from place to place, it all feels very seamless. It feels like one sort of like large connected world, rather than these sort of like very sanctioned off areas that have been just sort of how that franchise has worked so far. Yeah, Monster Hunter good. I'm going to be playing a lot of this.
Yeah. It's been interesting to play. So like Rise was the first one that I really spent time with, and I spent a lot of time with it. And so like I find it I find it interesting the amount of like hard edge that's been sanded off of the game for good and for ill. Like obviously I think it's cool. Like I really like the Palamute. That was one of the things when I did dabble into World a little bit, was difficult to not have something to ride to be able to get around quickly. But at the same time, like I feel like the Sacred might be a little too far in that direction, because I'm finding that I'm having difficulty kind of like remembering how the maps are laid out, because you're not running around on foot exploring them as much as you do in other games.
You have to be really deliberate in just being
Right.
like, no, I'm not going to have my Sacred like track the scent of this thing. I'm just going to like wander around and explore on my own.
Right. Which I do. I do have the autopilot turned off on there, but it's still just, you know, like, because you have these, you know, sections of the map where you can have the Sacred just like do this like pre-plotted like jumping route essentially that you don't really stop on. So that part is tricky. But and also it's kind of weird because like the whole routine is off on this one, because you have the supply box and because you have like the pop-up camps, and also because you can make your own meals on the go. Like kind of the routine is, all right, take this hunt, make a meal, and then go out there and do that. It's kind of like disrupted a little bit by that whole flow. But those are the only two things that I would say are like little critiques that I have. Everything else, like the gameplay feels excellent. I really like the focus attack system that they added to the game.
The wound system is really interesting. Yeah.
Like I think that adds a neat new wrinkle to combat, to kind of take advantage of the different monsters and their different weaknesses. To Carrie's point, all the monsters that I've seen so far are cool, because I'm still in the low rank campaign. They're all new to me, because like I know they brought back some monsters from older games that I hadn't played. And then they have some new ones as well. Yeah, I just fought a fucking ape that is throwing like wrestling moves at you. Like he's like throwing elbow drops and shit like that at you. Like that's fun as hell.
A Jerrican.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite new guys. Absolutely.
Yeah. So like all these fights are really fun. Obviously like they have the mounting system where you can like mount the monster and open up wounds on their back and you know hit them with a really big damaging attack. And it just feels fun to play. Like it's just really cool. And the thing about the difficulty is that like they have all these new tools for you, but like you can choose to engage or not engage with them. Like one of the things that some people were complaining about is, well, you know, you can call, like when you're down on the ground, you can call in your Sacred to come like swoop you up, and it gives you some iframes like when you do that and lets you like get out of danger really quickly. And it's like, yeah, that is there, but you don't have to do it.
No, you don't have to do that at all.
Yeah, if you want to play it,
the moment I jump off
hard.
the Sacred, I basically forget that it's there until it's time to move to a new area.
Right, because that's how you're conditioned to play from playing previous Monster Hunter games. So like, I think it's cool that they've added a lot of new like features and quality of life stuff to help onboard
more people to play.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I can't believe they're trying to expand their audience. Like what jerks. But now I'm very curious, because like I said, Micah is completely new to Monster Hunter, so I'm very curious to get your thoughts on how you're finding it so far.
So I'm virtually new. I played FOMO got a hold of me when Monster Hunter World came out.
Okay.
And so I bought it because like Capcom is my favorite developer, right? Mm-hmm. Like I love every Capcom game I've played. I find something to like about it, except Monster Hunter. And I was like, everyone loves this game. Like I just like when I'm talking about World. When I played World, it felt weird. It felt like there were systems on top of systems on top of systems, and like it wasn't. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And now this came out, and I sent a message to Brad Carrie. I said, "Look, man, like FOMO's getting to me. Like it's getting a bunch of good reviews. Is this something that like you could play with people, and like is it good?" And they were adamant. Oh yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get this game. If I don't like it, come in here and tell these motherfuckers that I don't like this game. I gotta tell you guys, man, I like this fucking game. I like this game a I got about 43 hours into it.
Oh
And,
shit!
Nigga, how,
Yeah.
What else have you been doing the last week?
I've been playing the fuck out of this game, man.
Damn, dude.
I'm
Look,
about.
look,
I'm
I don't have no
about.
children, so I can put a lot of time into video games.
Look,
You
I
have
was
two
up to.
kids, man. What have they been up to this last week?
Look.
They're
I was up till midnight on a school night last night playing this game. That's how much. That's when I get into it. And I'm about 2 quests away from finishing the high rank campaign. And
Damn, dude.
I mean, like it. I don't know what it is, man. It clicked. Now this focus attack thing, I think, is a very, very big help, because playing World, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it's too many. Like, this is a keyboard and mouse game, man. Like, I can't play this with a controller, because it's like, the monsters keep moving. You swinging this thing around. It's all slow. I couldn't find a weapon that I liked. I said, all right, well, this is a Capcom game, and I'm, like an undercover weeb. What's the katana version of
The longsword.
longsword.
Yeah,
So I
you
picked-
playing
so I picked-
longsword?
So I'm going longsword.
All right.
And
That tracks.
it's it took some practice, right? It took some practice. Like, I had to go into the training area to kind of figure out the mechanics of combat, and to figure out, the flow. And then I started playing, and I was like, I don't know. And then I started going through the menus and through the systems. Like, everything is there, but they don't spoon feed it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age in gaming, I'm used to, like, games holding your hand, and this is what you do, and this is what you do. And they don't do that. And I remember the last game that didn't do that was Elden Ring. And I really enjoyed Elden Ring. So I said, all right, I'm gonna actually give this a shot. And boy, am I having a good time with it. it's the actual, like, and I'm finding new things about it, right? Now look, I don't have any friends that I've been playing with. So all of my multiplayer time was, responding to SOSs if I have to, like, grind for materials and stuff from a monster. But it just seems everything looks like it's running smoothly, and I don't have a decent point of reference. Like, I didn't know the focus attack system was, like, brand new.
Yeah, that's totally fresh.
So
I
are
mean-
the offsets too, by the way. Like, all the weapons have an offset attack, which is basically a parry. And that's very satisfying. Like it's difficult to time correctly, and it only works against certain monster attacks, but when you do, like, you get a knockdown, and you get like you get to do an attack that rushes you into the monster and lets you follow up with, like, another combo. Like, that's cool as shit. That's also completely new to the series.
That's
as well. They haven't
new.
had
The
that.
power clash system, that's also new. I get a lot of those. So I don't know what your weapons of choice have been, lads, but I am and have always been and will likely always be a lance main. I like to be able to tank big hits and not take a lot of damage, so I chose the thing with the biggest shield. The other big upside for Lance is it's one of the few weapons that has an attack that actually increases your run speed. So Lance has a dash attack, which is my favorite thing in the world. And then my secondary weapon, I've been keeping a heavy bowgun around for when I'm fighting things that have a tendency to want to stay in the air, like the Hirabami or the Rathalos sort of family. So I don't know what you guys are playing with, but I'm completely unsurprised to hear that Micah's been playing longsword as the one of the two weebiest weapons in the game. It is that, and dual blades are the other.
I was thinking about dual blades too.
Dual
I was
blades
thinking about it.
is
I was
big
thinking about it.
time weeaboo weapon because
I
it turns
see-
you into Naruto. But
Yeah, I see all these people flipping and doing all these flippity doos. It looks like an AEW match in there, man. Just like jumping around, bopping and flipping all over the place, man. But I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do that right now. I've learned the mechanics to the longsword. Right now, I'm rolling with 2 different longswords for 2 different
Affinities.
2 different for 2 different affinities. Thank you.
okay,
Because my gear is, like, spec'd for longsword, right? Like, I can't, it's not spec'd for range. So if I if I get tired of longsword, I want to finish the high rank campaign first. And if I get tired of longsword, I might try something. I might try something different. I want to try maybe the bow.
Bow is fun.
Bo-
Bow is really
Bo-
fun in this one too.
Yeah, bow's pretty fun if you can get the hang of it. It's never been something that I've particularly enjoyed. If I'm going ranged, I'm just going to pick one of the guns. So
I was a hammer main in Rise. Like I like bonking monsters.
real unga bunga hours.
Yeah, but I switched to Switch Axe in this one, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Swax is so
that.
fun, dude.
Yeah, it's really like look. I like exploding things. Like that's what I like to do. So, and Switch Axe lets you, fucking shove your sword in a monster's side and like explode it basically and do like big damage. So that's very fun. It's got a very easy to grok, back and forth going between the axe and the sword. Version of it, and then I have a bow as my backup because I started playing bow and Rise later on and really liked it a lot more than bow guns just because of the additional agility that you get. And in this one, it's way different. Like the way you play bow is very like wound focus. Like you basically like the kind of the whole bow concept in this one is you want to use like a rain of arrows to open up wounds on monsters and then like stick the monster with a tracer in the wound and then just like bombard the shit out of them with like heavy attacks. Essentially, it's very cool.
So the wound system didn't exist before?
No, it's completely new.
You could, they in Iceborne, I think they introduced what was essentially like a proto version of the wound system where you could sort of use your hook shot to attach yourself to a monster and like wail on one particular appendage limb area of the monster. But it did not work the same way that this particular version of the system works. And Rise did not have anything like this. Rise did not even have the same kind of mounting system. Everything was based around the wire bugs. And I have caught myself several times being knocked down and hitting the buttons
for the wire bug recovery
to try and do the wire bug recovery, and I don't have any fucking wire bugs. Like,
yep. And Micah, like what was different before is that like you would still target specific areas of the monster, but like you were doing it to get specific parts to fall off, and like obviously like that still exists in the game today, but it just doesn't have it didn't have like the bonus attack effect of the wound system and like the special attacks that you could do related to it as well.
Yeah.
So
how long did fights take? Because like my longest
about the same.
My longest fight was with one of the later bosses, and it took like 30 minutes. But now these fights, that was the longest. My average fight is like, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, from what I can like I said, I didn't put too much time in World, but I just for some reason I have it in my head that like there was a lot of button presses to do like minute things in that game. Am I tripping?
No, so I mean, it's this Wilds is no different. I just think for whatever reason it just happened to click with you this time. Like every Monster Hunter, like every weapon has their bespoke combos that you have to learn the sequence and the animation and the timing to pull it off. And the thing that also makes it hard is that you've got a fucking monster that's just standing like attacking you back, and you have to sometimes break that combo to not get hit really bad, like really hard. Like that's why downing monsters is such a big deal, so that you can pull off your big damage combos without getting fought back on them. But no, they've always been this way, and in fact the systems have gotten more complex over time. Like they've added more moves and more different attacks that you can do with the different weapons. So
what system are you guys? Are you guys playing on PC?
PS5.
It's crossplay.
It's crossplay.
Yeah, it's
you can
crossplay.
So
play with
I'm
it.
asking because I heard it's not running really well on certain.
Oh,
PC has had, I think, the most gripes about it. I don't know that I've heard anything in particular about either console version. For what it's worth, I'm playing PS5 and my partner's playing Xbox, and we have not experienced really any issues. Now, we have been playing in a mode that focuses more on frame rate and performance rather than graphics. I think there are folks who are probably playing in a graphics focused mode for a Monster Hunter game, which seems very stupid, and are experiencing performance issues accordingly, because there's a lot on screen at any given time. So yeah, that being said, like the most that I've had in terms of focusing on frame rate rather than graphics is, you know, certain cutscenes, it's like the background textures take an extra split second to load, but that's such a small thing.
The PC version definitely is not optimized. Like that I can tell you for sure. Like I have a 4070 graphics card, and I downloaded the extra texture pack, and you know, I'm playing with frame generation, and I have it on, you know, performance mode. Like I have it optimized to performance. And to Carrie's point, like that texture pop in is even more prevalent on PC, like especially in cutscenes where, you know, you're watching a cutscene and you'll just see the background like render essentially in real time while characters are talking. The character models look pretty good in cutscenes, and for what it's worth, like I don't notice any major issues during gameplay, and the game isn't running poorly. It's just that those graphical issues, which are okay. Like they're obviously annoying, but you know, I'm still having a good time. It's not disrupting my experience. So,
Speaking of cutscenes, look, I don't know what's going on with that story, and I got bored, so I just skip them.
Monster Hunter has never been a game that has been known for its story. Like the story is just there as a way to introduce new cool monsters. That's all it's ever been in any of these games. Like
to try and justify the fact that like you're a big game hunter, like you're killing these monsters for their ivory.
There's that always kind of lurking in the back of your mind. Is like, are we the baddies?
It's like, what did they do to us? They just kind of chilling, right?
But
yeah, they're kind of mean. Like the ones you're hunting are kind of mean. So
I mean, a lot of what they sort of explain, especially in this game, that they try to drive home as far as like why the guild authorizes certain hunts and not others is, you are, you know, ecosystems are going out of balance, and certain monsters that were thought to be extinct are coming back and fucking up entire ecosystems and whatnot. So in order to preserve the balance of certain ecosystems,
like
you are authorized.
Spring.
Yeah.
Like, okay. All right, sure.
No, fuck deer. Too many of those motherfuckers out there.
Like I said, I'm not going out there killing the docile creatures that are around. If they happen to get in the way of my axe, like that's their problem. I didn't set out to attack them. So
oh man, some of them armor pieces require like here's a guardian sacred. Oh, you look adorable, but like I need your feathers. So
yeah, gonna need that. Yeah, the story in Wilds is, I think, the most involved.
It's the most they've tried for sure. It's like literally like normally the story is like you go to the village and like the village elder will be like, oh man, I've heard reports of this monster causing trouble out here. You should go investigate it, and then you go investigate it. Like there's really not much beyond too much.
Yeah, it's like I want to say, you know, this one has this whole deal, and I'm not gonna get too into spoiler territories, but the flagship monster is one that was thought to be extinct and then has resurfaced a number of years later, and there's this whole deal with this tribe of people called the Keepers, and sort of like what they were doing, and these like long ancient secrets that involve many of the monsters from the franchise. And so you're trying to like, you're uncovering this as you and like the Hunters Guild are investigating this region that they had not previously had contact with. Whereas like Monster Hunter Rise's entire story was this big monster is too horny, and that's a problem. Like that was the whole deal with Narwa, was like monster too horny, we cannot allow this to reproduce. And then Monster Hunter World was like, this enormous elder dragon is going to die. Why? And then Nergigante was there. Whatever. Who cares? The game was fun. Yeah, this is definitely it feels like the most amount of time that not only have they put into like the core story, but into like the characters that you're spending a lot of time with. Like Gemma, I like a lot. She's your smithy. Like she actually has a personality beyond me make armor, which is what the smithies have been in previous games. Nata is interesting. Alma, your handler, I like a lot. Olivia, who's the other sort of like key hunter from the guild who runs a different sort of squad. She's really interesting. You get to do some missions with her as an NPC support character, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into the amount of effort that they're trying to put into a game called Monster Hunter where you hunt monsters. Like
Well, look, if their goal was to get literally everyone to play it, then yeah, it worked because this is a really fun game.
They have sold over 8 million copies of this game so far.
Holy tits. That's a lot. The other thing that I do want to talk about with this game is the environments and how they compare to past games. I did think that Rise was kind of meh in its environments. It wasn't doing anything interesting. And I do feel like Wilds has been doing some interesting stuff with the available like biomes. Like, yes, you start off in kind of a desert area and then you have a forest area, but the forest area is kind of interesting with the whole like red water and like why that's a thing and all of this. But my favorite area is the oil well basin. I think that is such a cool idea for an area. It reminds me a lot of the Rotten Vale from World. World I thought had some really cool biomes between the Rotten Vale and the Coral Highlands, but Wilds is very close in terms of like the diversity of the environments and like how things sort of feel to explore. And again, how seamless it is to go from one area to another. It does feel very natural in spite of how different the areas are.
We are eating too good this year. There have already been too many really good games that have come out this year. Yeah, I'm having a great time. Like I said, I'm back. I am in hunting in earnest now that I'm back from my trip that I took last week. So I hope to catch Micah and Carrie soon enough so that we can squad up.
I have posted my squad details in our group chat, so I expect to see requests from both of you.
That you will.
All right.
That you will. So, yeah, good shit. And again, like these games only get better over time as they put out updates and the inevitable expansion that will come out for this game at some point as well. So, look forward to more Monster Hunter.
Yeah, we do actually already know what's going to be in the first update, which I think is due out soon. Sometime next month.
Yeah, they detailed it last week. Some of the things they're adding. So just bring back my Palico cooking animation. That's what I really want. That's the only thing
I miss the Palico cooking. I do miss that a lot. But
I find those things creepy and annoying.
Oh.
do you have the voice turned on, or do you just make it make cat noises?
I had the voice turned on, and then now that I'm in towards the end game, I don't need to hear anything.
I can't. I prefer the Chewbacca method of communication from the Palicos.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Yeah, I don't want my Palicos to speak English at me. I want them to make meow meow noises. So
Yeah, get out of here. That's
But-
nonsense.
yeah, Mizutsune is
the sleepy,
arriving in
the sleepy dragon.
Bubble
sure.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The bubble blight or whatever the hell it's called. So,
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, that is probably the first of many conversations we'll have about Monster Hunter on the show. So we'll take another quick break. When we come back, the post office. As usual, if you are a member of our Discord, you can go to or if you're not a member of Discord, rather, go to densepixels.com/fans. You can join And that way you can ask us questions that we will answer every week. Just like Cam did when he asked, will the John Cena dick kick felt around the world be looked upon as a bigger deal than Hulk Hogan being the third man in 1996?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because Hogan was never a bad guy. He was a bad guy like when he first started in like the late 70s, right? And he was just a good guy through the 80s into the mid 90s.
And it was also like not the end of Hogan's career. Like this is obviously the end of John Cena's career. Hogan still wrestled for another
like 7 months left
decade
in his career.
After
and Cena has been a heel-ish at least one when he was like a economics Cena. So no, I don't think so.
Still pretty big deal.
Younger, maybe for younger viewers.
It felt like a big deal.
It is still probably like the number 2 turn of all time, but like number 1, and again, like Carrie, like to Terrence's point, like some of the NWO stuff might be lost on you because you weren't watching at that time. Like it's hard to kind of put into
I was
frame.
I was watching it a little bit in the 90s, but I was also just like a little kid and not really paying attention.
6.
Shut up. You shut the fuck up, Terrence.
I'm just saying. Yeah, that was what, 95, 96?
Yeah, I don't think you could appreciate it as much.
No, I was just like, oh, big men strong. Like
and also
this
too,
N64 game good.
and also too, like John Cena turning heel is not going to literally change the wrestling industry the way that the introduction of the NWO did as well. Mm-hmm. Like it makes for a good WrestleMania and probably a little bit beyond storyline, but I don't think much further than that. So, but still, again, an enormous deal, very unexpected.
I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's kind of like, all right. I don't know what the fuck Travis Scott was doing.
Johnny asks the inevitable follow-up question: Does this make Travis Scott the Scott Hall or the Kevin Nash in this situation?
That's an offensive question. To be perfectly honest,
Cam's response, I think, is perfectly accurate. He's the Dennis Rodman in this equation.
Honestly, I think that's still offensive. Like Travis. When he comes out, I'm like, what is he doing? First of all, I didn't know who the fuck it was.
Yeah, I don't know who Travis Scott is
That's
either.
number 1.
Yeah.
I was like,
the whole final boss thing started, and then Travis Scott walks out carrying a belt. I was like, what is happening?
When the final boss, he comes out, and I'm like, who is this nigga? I don't know what Travis Scott looks like. I don't follow his music. I'm not a fan. And then he comes out and looks like he's high. I think he was like doing crack or something in the back because he looked fucking crazy.
I mean, he did potato the shit out of Cody Rhodes. Allegedly.
Yeah, he busted his fucking eardrum. Yeah, that's a serious injury.
So there's that.
There was no reason. I don't know what the hell The Rock is doing. I don't. He's starting to really get. He's been getting under my skin for the last couple of years. Like this shit, I ain't like it that much. The only thing that saved that was John Cena turning heel. Because it was just those two in the ring and him like fidgeting like he was like on fucking Baltimore Street. I don't know. I didn't like it all. I didn't like that at all. But yeah.
Yeah, man. He just I want your soul. Like, why can't you just be normal, yo? Like, just say, I want you to be my champion. I want you to be my corporate champion. I want your soul. Right. I want your soul, and then gonna turn around 15 minutes later. Well, he's he's on Inside the Actor's studio and shit. Well, the character of the final boss.
I don't.
Shut up,
look,
man.
I don't like those fucking press conferences after these.
I hate them.
I hate them.
I hate them.
I can't. Well, and partially because they can't decide if they're done in kayfabe or if they're done.
No, they cannot legit. Decide if they're done in kayfabe. If they were like, if they gotta pick. They gotta pick if they're in or not.
I would like it more if it was in kayfabe and all the reporters were also like in on the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's more fun that way. I think.
You know what John Cena did after that?
Yeah, he dropped the mic.
He came in character, picked the mic up and dropped it, and then left. And then here comes The Rock. Well, you see. My motivation was that I'm insecure and that I need to be the focal point of. All right, man.
Yeah, we get
I
it.
don't like it.
We get it. It's not even subtext. It's just text. We
All right.
understand.
It's text in bold and italicized. For God's
Yeah.
sakes.
At least
Christ.
at least John Cena has like a sensible motivation to do this. Like the story that they're gonna tell. Like he desperately wants to win his 17th world title and all that jazz. Like is gonna make sense, and it's a good.
He's willing to do
motivating factor.
anything.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever he has to in order to make it happen, including selling his soul to one of the board members of TKO, like not even the
Right.
chairman, but just one of the 9 people that sit on the board of TKO. But I guess the only one that's in wrestling, so he has outweighed power. Whatever,
Whatever.
Dwayne could not be part of the story, and I'd be totally fine with it. So,
Yeah.
but I guess he has to be
Yeah.
to put his thumb on the scale. So.
He's starting to getting on my fucking nerves.
I mean, he's been getting on my nerves.
Hey, it's been a couple years, but like, all right, man, you're doing too much.
I apologize,
especially for the in-ring product not to be all that great. You're not adding nothing special to this shit.
No, in fact you're detracting because you're cutting time from other people's segments because it takes you 20 minutes to do a 5-minute talkie segment.
Because you want to get drunk and curse on air. Like, come on, yo. Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. All right, man. All right.
That being said, it was incredibly entertaining watching CM Punk call The Rock a bald.
Yeah, that
I
was
was
great.
gonna say you bald
That was good.
fraud. Like that was a lot of fun last week.
Like you can say what you want about CM Punk. That motherfucker's really good on the goddamn mic, man. He's really good.
CM Punk has very quickly become one of my favorites ever since basically ever since Netflix started carrying Raw. Now I watch it every fucking week. Yeah, I like Punk quite a bit.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to deal with Moody Phil for 10 years, so like that's
I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with Moody Phil. I kind of agree with him. Stop fucking with that man.
It's
Let him do his
in
job.
some ways he's like he very probably not coincidentally reminds me of Bret Hart, where it's like, yeah, you're right, but you got to be such an asshole about it.
Yeah, and Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler.
Right.
So there you go. I agree.
Oh my goodness.
I'm actually probably going to go to Raw in a few weeks because they're having it in Sacramento.
Yeah,
so
if you've
I'm
never been,
probably
it's
gonna go.
fun. It's fun to go to those. So
Yeah.
it's a good time.
I went to the Monday Nitro the day after the day after Goldberg kicked Bret Hart in his fucking head. I remember it was 99. I went right after fucking Starcade. When he got his concussion.
Yeah, and his career.
Yeah. So this is actually it's going to be the last Raw before WrestleMania. So
Oh,
the
the go home
damn.
show.
It's gonna go home
even
show.
better.
Yeah,
Even
it's gonna be
better.
some good shit. So I just want to see Penta beat up another shitty little white boy. Like that's it.
Does he win? Does he win a title anytime soon?
Penta
over.
probably.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Ray Phoenix allegedly
when his
is
brother
coming
gets
in,
got
right?
released.
His brother,
Yeah.
by AEW. So
I wouldn't put them as a tag team.
and yet
Yeah.
it's the easiest path to go.
It is, but that's
Yeah.
yes.
So
I
either way,
apologize to
big
the
fan
three
of
of you.
Penta.
Apologize to the three of you in advance for the bevy of F1 questions that were asked this week because the season starts this weekend. So, Evan asked with the start of the F1 season, who do you think will be on top, who will flop, and who will be a surprise? Driver, I'll say Max again. Team, I'm going to say Ferrari. Surprise, I think Haas finishes 6th or 5th this year. That's my surprise. Ricky says, do you think Drive to Survive has outlived its purpose and needs to be shelved, or does it need to be more serious about the F1 operations and not fake drama via some clever editing? The first episode alone of this new season is a bit uncomfortable. Is it necessary that an HR issue is put out on public display on a global scale, or is it necessary that an HR issue is put out on public display on a global scale? So I stopped watching Drive to Survive after not last season's but the season before, just because I think that what Drive to Survive does really well and why it should probably continue to live is it is the single thing that you can attribute to F1's recent boom in popularity is that show. Like I've literally talked to more people who've gotten into Formula One because of Drive to Survive than literally any other factor. And so I think for that reason, yeah, you can keep it going, but I think it's something that you can like graduate from as a fan. Like once you're like watching it week in, week out, you don't need Drive to Survive to explain to you the narratives and show you things because you're seeing it play out in front of you every single week. So I think it still has a use, but I think that it might not be useful to someone like Ricky anymore, who is obviously like an actual F1 fan watching it week in, week out. And then they follow up with the second question. If you have to recommend a season or an episode of Drive to Survive to a friend, or in this case, my co-host, which would that be? And that's, I think he nailed it. I would say just watch the entire fourth season that details the 2021 Max and Lewis title fight, because that was the most intriguing season of F1 that I've seen since I've been watching, and it's very gripping because literally like the last 3 episodes of that season all focus on just Max versus Lewis and the title battle that came down to literally the very last lap on the very last race of the season that year. So very cool. T-Wash asks, what is your favorite interview? My favorite is when MTV had Master P interview George Lucas.
What? I don't know. I kind of want to see that interview though. That Master P George Lucas interview.
I'm sure it's online somewhere if you wanted to check it out.
It might be. Look, depending on when it is, that might be when George Lucas got the inspiration for Jar Jar Binks.
I know what mine is. I know what mine is. Mine is during E3 2013 or 2013, 2014. I can't remember which one, but it was after Xbox had unveiled the Xbox One and detailed the, required internet connection, no use games, all that stuff. And then Jeff Keighley caught up with then head of Xbox, Don Matrick, during an interview where basically he got Don Matrick to say, like, hey, like, if you don't have an internet connection, that's okay. We have a system for you too. It's Xbox 360. And then there was a very awkward but pregnant pause, and Jeff Keighley's like, "That's it. That's your answer. You have Xbox 360," and that was the end of Don Matrick's career as the head of games at Xbox.
Favorite interview?
I
Probably Jesus and Mero interviewing Denzel Washington.
Oh, that'd probably be phenomenal.
It's on YouTube. Check it out. It's very good. Denzel Washington's a nigger from New York. It's really funny, man. That's
I
know one.
I think the interview that Conan O'Brien did on Letterman after Leno took back the Tonight Show, that's a really good one.
I think my favorite might be another Jeff Keighley interview. And it is with someone that it was with a YouTuber who I guess is still famous. I don't know. The person's name is Angry Joe. And Angry Joe was trying to kind of pull a gotcha with Jeff Keighley about he was interviewing him. This is when the Game Awards were like still kind of new, you know what I mean? And Angry Joe was just like, well, what about this? Right? And Jeff Keighley, in the same fashion as, the previous, he would just give these very pregnant pauses and he would completely stone-faced answer the question. And you could tell Joe was just not like, and then Jeff bucks back like, is that it? Is that all you got? It's just like, yo, yeah, don't Jeff Keighley's kind of a cornball, but he knows what he's doing.
He
does know what
fools.
he's doing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Especially people who have who their gimmick is performative outrage. I hate that shit. Couldn't have happened to a better person. far as I'm concerned.
And even though like it's a work, like I really did like the episode of Between Two Ferns when Zach Galifianakis interviewed Barack Obama. Like, you know, I get that, but that just shows like Obama's got really good comedic chops, and that interview just helps to underscore that quite a bit. So
there've been a couple good episodes of Hot Ones lately. Bill Murray was on this past week. That was actually really good. Lady Gaga was on a few weeks ago. That was also very good. I appreciate seeing someone like Lady Gaga go on Hot Ones in a completely ridiculous outfit, still sit down and eat 10 wings, and just like very much have her guard down. It's interesting to see the kind of people that Hot Ones gets, and who is willing to fucking like play the game, and who's there because their publicist told them to be there. So yeah, Gaga was really good. Questlove was really good. Yeah, but Bill Murray was on this past week, and I thought that was solid.
Do you think they kind of dial back some of the spice in those sauces? Because a lot of people are getting through it, and I remember when that show first came on, people were just tapping out.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the people who were tapping out were people like fucking Khaled, who's a pussy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like
Khaled was like, he ate one.
He ate like 3 and was like fucking
what the fuck?
Dipped out.
There's actually that a Conan O'Brien one was fucking hilarious.
Conan was great on Hot Ones. Yeah.
I think that's a show that you're going to see more people pass it as they get better, because as the show goes on, and like you don't want to look like a bitch compared to like this celebrity over here, right? So like you gut it out and you deal with it. So
yeah.
I remember Issa Rae did it, and you know, to your point, Carrie, when Issa Rae was on, her publicist probably told her to do it because, like, but she just ate the thing like,
yeah. Like I thought, like Ariana Grande was not one of the better interviews. Like I think Ariana like got through it, but like wasn't really interested in answering any of the questions. And the thing is, like, what's his nuts, Sean whoever on Hot Ones he's a very good interviewer. Like he and whoever he has on his team are doing very good research on their subjects and asking very poignant, open-ended questions about very specific things. But some folks will just give like 1 or 2 word answers, and it's just like, man, like you're not even you clearly don't want to be here. Like, why are you here? But yeah, Conan and Paul Rudd, I think, were like the 2 greatest of all time on Hot Ones for sure.
Idris Elba has that classic moment.
Yeah, no, Idris was good.
That episode is very funny. He's like, "Can you fight?" Because he's like, "I'm about to beat your ass."
Shaq was also really good. Shaq was a good one.
That was a great show.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
incredible
concept for someone to think about. Like,
wild.
Yeah, like let's make
I
celebrity
have done a Hot Ones gauntlet before, and yeah, some of those sauces are no fucking joke. The bomb sucks. The bomb is the worst thing I have ever put in my mouth, and I've eaten it like 3 or 4 times now, and it doesn't get any better. It's awful, start to finish. Like,
well, I mean, it's like it's just hot.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you get to
it's hot with no flavor. Like
when you get the sauces that hot, like it just tastes like death, basically. Like there's no flavor in it at all. It just tastes like you're biting into a piece of charcoal.
Like I've had a couple different versions of the Last Dab at this point, and the Last Dab at least has a flavor. They at least try to impart a flavor on top of the heat so that it's not just straight pain. The bomb is just straight pain. It is awful. Yeah.
Real quick then, C. Ken asked, and I guess this will be geared towards Micah, I've never played a Monster Hunter game. Is this game noob friendly?
Yes, it is. It's very. It's 3 hours into it, and the game came out what? Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. I don't know when it came out, but I've been putting a lot of time into it. Now, look, you do have to do a little bit of legwork. You have to. You got to kind of be committed, but if you are committed, it doesn't take much of a commitment, and it doesn't take much like prep. But what I would do is, if you do decide to get it, try out all the weapons, pick one that you think you would like, get through until you get to the first camp, and then you can go to the training area, go into the training area, see if you can figure out how to maneuver your character with your weapon, and then go into the menus and spend a lot of time in there kind of figuring things out. And if you go to all the different weapons, have their own menus, they have their own combo routes that you can go into. Everything is there. You just have to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you're more
Wilds is the same experience I had with both World, because I was like, and when I bought it, I'm like, yo, I think I'm fucked up. I think I just wasted $60.
400 hours later,
yeah, like 300. I'm like, okay, yeah, I really like this. And those games are really fucking convoluted as hell.
They are, and even like the loop is convoluted. So like if you're more of a visual learner, like you want to have someone like explain it to you. Gaijin Hunter, Fighting Cowboy are two really good YouTube channels who specialize in Monster Hunter, and they have some good tutorial videos that you can check out. And there's a slew of content creators around Monster Hunter out there. Like it's a cottage industry.
Yeah, I follow Fighting Cowboy.
Yeah,
I think I probably started following because of Monster Hunter.
Right.
Back then, yeah.
Yep. Finally, Ricky says, what are some of the worst cap ideas you have ever seen? Today, they saw a picture. So MLB is putting out they're called the Over Collection or Overlap Collection. And so basically what it is it's the normal hat logo that you would see for an MLB team, superimposed over top of the city script that goes across their road jerseys. Now, the one example that they showed, and this got pulled down from MLB's store, is the Texas Rangers, whose normal hat logo is a block letter capital T, superimposed over the Texas. Name badge. And of course, the T covers the X in Texas. And when you put a T instead of an X in the word Texas, you get something that somehow made it past the marketing department and for sale.
See what happens when you eliminate DEI?
Exactly, because Americans are dumb. That's pretty much what this proves.
Look, Major League Baseball has a long established history of ugly ass baseball caps that are doing too fucking much. And the Overlap collection is simply the latest instance of this, because none of them look good. None of them look good. You have
to realize baseball is the only sport where the players are wearing a hat all the time. So, of course, yes, they are going to get the absolute worst hats
I think
that's out there.
The worst instance of a limited hat, because I think there are some contemporary permanent hats that look like dog shit, but I think the most recent and perhaps most egregious ugly ass MLB caps from New Era were the local market caps that they did a few years ago, where it was like a bunch of shitty little clip art around the cap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember that shit?
Yeah.
Where like the one for the Orioles had like the O's in the middle, but then it also had like the Baltimore area like phone area codes, and then a thing that had like a crab, and then there was Edgar Allan Poe's face on there for some reason. And then like, the Cincinnati hat had like a thing of Buckeyes on there, but it kind of looks like a weed leaf because of the shitty clip art that they use.
They're so bad.
All of them were bad. All of them
so
were
bad.
All of them were bad.
I had erased this from my brain. They're so bad.
This was the first thing I thought of when he was like, what are the worst caps? And it's like, these were the worst. These were the worst, far and away. Because all of them had like the primary logo like in the center as usual. And then next to it was like a list of area codes. And then there were like 3 or 4 other pieces of shitty clip art.
That are just like the Kansas City Royals. Like their hat has like the Kansas City area codes, and then a picture of a saxophone on the front right next to the logo because of jazz in
and
Kansas
Houston
City.
has a cowboy hat and a spaceship. And
these are fucking ugly.
I was gonna throw out some of the I was going to throw out a couple of the City Connect caps that I don't like, but I
Some of
can't.
the City
I
Connect
can't
caps
beat
are pretty
this.
awful.
I
Yeah,
can't
no.
beat this at all. Holy shit!
Nope.
The Nationals cap just has a fucking badge next to the W that just says 1776
Yep.
with 13 stars rounded.
Yep,
That's as
and then it
fucking
also
low effort
has-
as you could get. What the fuck?
It has the head of a bald eagle and then like a half smoke on it. Like
Oh my God.
that's it. That's all you get for DC.
They're
It's
terrible.
Fucking awful.
Yeah, these are.
I like that
yo.
the Toronto one
God
has
damn.
a second maple leaf on it, in spite of the fact that the Toronto Blue Jays like logo already includes a maple leaf. So you have 2 maple leaves on it, and then like a thing of poutine.
The Red Sox one has a fucking statue of Paul Revere because I guess they couldn't find a way to represent racism with a symbol on the front of their caps. So there's
That being said, there are some other standouts in my brain as far as more permanent, like regularly worn, like non-limited caps. I think this is like
Is the Pittsburgh
Deep
one
cut.
just a steel girder?
Yeah,
yes,
of course, Micah. What the fuck else is Pittsburgh going to be associated with?
yes.
Because they couldn't put a Steelers logo next to a Pirates logo. So what the fuck else are they going to do?
Shit.
I think that the current Marlins cap is horrendous. Not only because I think the current Marlins logo is horrendous, but it's also too big on the cap, and it drives me crazy. It's too big. The M is too big, and the little flying marlin coming off of the M is it's all too much. It's too big. I also just do not like anything that the Marlins have going on in terms of their logo or their design. I think it all sucks. The Angels had a cap in the 1960s that had a little halo around the top.
Oh, that's right, they
stitched in.
did.
Yeah,
They did.
Awful. My dad has one in his memorabilia collection. I think it's the ugliest piece of shit. And if you ever get a chance to like look at one in person, the thread wasn't just white; it was like shitty metallic silver too. Not great. Yeah. Just bad, bad across the board.
Now, honestly, I'm re-looking at the City Connect uniforms because I'm going through them all here.
Some of
Gotta
the City
say,
Connects in general were bad. Some of them were really good.
They're lame, but I don't know that I'd go as far to say any of them are horrendous. They're very lame. In most cases, with a few exceptions.
Yeah.
The Tigers one is bad. The Tigers one literally is like a blue cap
Tigers
that
one
says
is
Motor
pretty
City across the front of the cap. That sucks, but
Yeah, Cleveland I didn't like. I didn't like any of the ones that just had like the city abbreviation on it. So Cleveland just had CLE on it. I never liked Washington's just because it had WSH on the front. I was like, this is so
yeah,
stupid.
I don't like the cherry blossom jerseys anyway.
I didn't like the jerseys. I did like the hat. I thought that the cherry blossoms around the W, I liked that as a hat. I didn't like it as a jersey. I thought Phillies was fucking atrocious. Pittsburgh's was not good.
I like Phillies. Phillies is
No.
good. Yeah.
I ain't seen it, and I can tell you it's trash.
The hat
It was, like,
emblem
blue
is
and
the
gold.
Liberty Bell, but in different
The
shades.
hat
of blue.
was fine. The complete jersey was not.
Oh, I got you.
I'm talking City Connect top to bottom. Like, I thought the Orioles cap was fine. I thought the jersey was fucking lame.
Let me tell you something. I really hated that jersey when they first showed it off. The Baltimore City Connect jersey.
Yeah.
I own one now.
I'm not surprised.
It grew on me. It grew on me immediately.
I liked Seattle's because it was very similar to the original Seattle Pilots uniforms, which I always thought were very cool. Rangers were bad. Padres were a choice if you want to look up that particular City Connect. It was very 90s. It was very 90s. I like it, but it was very polarizing.
For the team whose normal colors are brown, a different shade of brown, and gold, it's a nice
No, I
contrast.
appreciate like the seafoam green and the pink and the gold, like all about it. I think more
Well, we have to
whatever.
we have to end the
Uniforms
show.
be ugly.
Sometimes
and,
they do. But I highly recommend, if you're not a baseball fan, go look up all the City Connect jerseys because again, some of them are cool, and some of them are very
Most of
not
them are
cool.
bad.
But yeah, if you ever want bad hats or bad uniform stuff in general, literally look no further than Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball is where it's at.
That's right.
Because
If you really want a special treat, everyone listening, go back and check out the Turn Ahead the Clock uniform collection that MLB had in 2000,
God.
and have a great time, because they are awful. And that's all I will say. I will leave that for all of you listeners to discover on your
I don't know,
own.
some of those kind of rip.
They're all bad. There's not a single good one in the
Yo,
mix.
what? All right.
Do you like the silver and black Orioles jersey, Micah? The colors most associated with the Baltimore Orioles, silver and black.
Yeah, these are not good, man.
Yeah.
A lot of very oversized logos.
Yeah, they thought that would be the future. It's like, hey, we're gonna put giant fucking blown up logos.
The
on
Diamondbacks
jerseys.
one was cool though. That had the snake like wrapping around. I don't know. I'm into it.
So as we mentioned, you can leave us a question that will dive us into incredible tangents by going to densepixels.com/fans. Of course, subscribe to the show on YouTube, youtube.com/densepixels. Subscribe wherever you download podcasts. All you have to do is search for TNP Studios to find us, the Inner Apocalypse, Black and Black Cinema, and the Look for a Political Podcast. And if you really appreciate what you do, or what we do, we appreciate what you do by downloading and listening to the show. If you appreciate what we do by producing and making the show, support us with zeal by going to densepixels.com/premium and just contribute $5 a month to help your favorite podcast get made. So that's going to be it for us. Thank you all very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you the next time.
See ya.
Take it easy.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.